because this was several-month research. We engaged researchers around the world. Vanessa, do you want to give more of an intro before I jump in? Okay. So, 10 different organizations evaluated over 2016 and 2017. And it was a massive evaluation that resulted in a report that was over 200 pages long with 10 different case studies. And I now have 4 minutes left to give you all of the findings and the recommendations. So here we go. There's the title. There's the summary. There's the methodology. I'll slow down. So the two focuses of the evaluation were both to assess the YSF program itself, which was focused on giving these small grants, most of them were about $25,000, to youth-led organizations. So it was both evaluating how does an organization do that well? How do you actually resource youth-led organizations well? And then the second element is to assess, of these 10 different projects that were all Finland funded, thank you Finland, in 8 different countries, what was the project's peace-building impact and how might it be improved? So you can see these are questions that are actually really helpful for other organizations as well, to think about how can you improve your impact, whether you're a donor who's wanting to support projects or you're an organization who's actually implementing yourself. So this is the scope, the breadth over which these projects were implemented. It's from North Africa, Central Africa, East, West Africa, India, Pakistan, and so forth. So quite a breadth of experience. We collected, in addition to the extensive document review over those years and some more general document reviews, we conducted interviews and focus groups, online surveys with both YSF staff as well as grantees within these organizations. We developed unique methodologies to analyze each of the 10 different organizations as well, with as much opportunity for overlap between them also. So as you see, there was hundreds of different participants in the evaluation. This is a really unique thing we did. You know, a lot of time organizations say that we reach X number of people, and that was part of the evaluations that each of these entities filled out. But there's a big difference between saying like 100,000 people, viewed our Facebook page, and we had 10,000 people, or let's say it's even 100 youth in a 9-month intensive mentoring program. It's like you can't really count those the same. So I developed this engagement scale to be able to weight the level of engagement so that we could actually score the different activities and weight them to get an engagement score as well, which came out with some interesting results. So the total people, you have to see a difference between the people reach and the engagement score. So those more intensive engagements received a higher score. To be able to actually put that out into a cost per engagement. This was broken down per activity and per organization. So this is just a really high level summary for 2016 for each of the organizations there. You can see life up there as well as people reach 36,000, engagement score 74,000, 25,000 grant, and then you can get a cost per engagement. Now, I can critique this as well. There's certainly ways to improve it, but I think it's an interesting way to be able to analyze really concisely the depth of engagement and the cost per engagement to get a little bit more accurate than just looking at the people reach. It's done for 2017 as well. Now, findings and recommendations were broken down into a number of different categories. I'm just going to give you some top-level, basically findings and recommendations here. If you see others there that you want to ask questions about, please take a note on that. We're going to have some Q&A time, so you're welcome to engage further and follow up with me afterwards as well, or YSF/UNAOC. So. One of the things related to the selection criteria was that, truly, YSF provided pioneering and strategic service, and government and Finland played a flagship role in supporting YSF since its inception. This is really an important strategy in supporting and scaling support for youth-led organizations globally. So that was clear. And they were not just a donor through YSF. That's really important as well. They've provided key supports to these youth-led organizations that went far beyond the typical donor services, which were highly valued by the recipients as well. They also, another key finding was the importance the funding cycle from 12 months, that was definitely found as a challenge both for YSF as well as for the youth themselves, trying to really get projects implemented so quickly, and there's a number of different reasons for that. This is interesting. The application process itself helped build the capacity of youth-led organizations because of the selection criteria required, and it helped applicants articulate their projects in clear, concise, systematic applications, work plans, and templates. There was one example of one of the organizations funded. They're like, it took us 3 years of applying in order to get funding, but that was really helpful for us. First, we didn't meet the selection criteria, so we got those things in place. And then we put an application, but we got feedback on how to better improve it. And then we were able to apply again. So they're like, well, that was really valuable for us to actually, so it was really improving organizations through actually even applying for the organization because they're really strategic and systematized in that process as well. Capacity building efforts. So the remote coaching that was provided by YSF, this was across the board. These grantees saw that as extremely valuable. They're really grateful for that. And then I'm going to go on faster here. Project activities engage people, inspire peace-building actions significantly beyond what was measured in the reports. So we have these numbers of the great scope of impact, or great scope of reach that these projects had. But as you dug in a little deeper, you can see that it really didn't measure the kind of knock-on effects or the additional actions that were taken or the youth that were empowered through the programs, the projects that they ended up starting as well. Again, the importance of lengthening the funding cycle to at least 15 months. And as part of the capacity building, at least with this program, we saw the value of learning from past grantees, so grantee alumni, actually mentoring and helping the new grantees. And so trying to do this, we saw the value of doing a capacity, I saw the value of doing a capacity building that really overlapped with starting grantees, new grantees, and the alumni as well, so they could really learn from one another. So this was just a proposal of how to align those things to be able to maximize that and reduce costs. Selection process, significantly increased donor funding with other funds to increase the variety of supportable projects and applicants, including non-English speaking projects and those in complex zones. YSF has funded a lot of different organizations, significant funding, but really we need a lot more funding in this sector. And once that happens, the economy of scale provides some different opportunities, such as adding all the workload that's required to be able to actually process applications in other languages, which is important to increase that breadth as well. So that's just one of the reasons for increasing the funding. Capacity building, develop stronger, clearer, more strategic capacity building. They had a lot of different efforts that they were offering, but there's room, if somebody is supporting youth-led organizations, just thinking about this is probably going to take a little bit more work to be able to get the best value out of the investment. So let's be really strategic about the types of supports that we're offering to these young people, thinking about that ahead of time so that you can really deliver well. That's not to say that they weren't doing that, they were doing a lot of that, but there was room for growth there as well. Okay, selection process significantly increased. Oh wait, I went the wrong way, forgive me, just making sure you were listening. Okay, evidence. This help grantees document evidence of project impact by adapting interim and final reporting to focus more on confirming impact and stating activities. Most of the reports that came back from grantees were around, these are the things we did. And often that's a challenging thing for anybody who's not used to doing research or evaluations to really switch from the things we did to the impact, what the outcome, the things that actually happened because of the things that we did. So that takes some training, some practice, and that could be built in at the start, better built in at the start of the program, so that those baselines and end of cycle evaluations are set up to really measure impact, which is really critical for the field right now as well. We got a lot of fantastic anecdotes of amazing impact, but increasing that evidence base of impact is important for the advancement. It continues to be really critical for the advancement of the field. Overarching recommendations, improve monitoring and evaluation, that connects. engage key stakeholders as early as possible. This really connects with this example that we heard about life from Rufus, that they did engage the stakeholders after the project had begun. They thought that they were going to be able to get buy-in for them to do this, exchange, but they found out afterwards that wasn't going to be possible. Great innovation to be able to still move forward, but it's a great example of saying engage those key stakeholders early in the setup process in order to really get the best outcomes. Help grantees how to better engage, safely engage children in and throughout their projects. Children were involved in almost all of these projects, but they often weren't always measured. They were often in the peripheral. Sometimes they were measured, but they could have been better measured. And just from a psychological perspective, the plasticity or malleability of younger people is, you're actually able to get a little more change for less input when you're at a younger age. And you're able to better prepare these young people for when they're youth to actually have the experience of how do you apply for a grant, how do you design a project, how do you do evaluations and so forth. So I saw that as a critical recommendation as well. And that's the end. Oh man, I went way too long.